Go for it.
How many of you guys listen to music? I mean, I'm sure a lot of you do, but have you really thought about where that music comes from? Where does the artist's inspiration stem from? What influenced the artist to write such a piece of art? What influenced the people to listen to the music? And what influenced everything? Bob Dylan influenced a lot of it. Bob Dylan had a very significant impact on the music industry through his composition style and through his lyricism and just through his style in general. Bob Dylan was a very, very influential musician. And in order to effectively understand what kind of influence Bob Dylan has, you have to take a look at his influences, his style, and his lyricism. Bob Dylan was influenced by a lot of very traditional folk artists, specifically Woody Guthrie. Woody Guthrie was a folk artist in the 1920s, and he wrote a song called This Land Is Your Land, which many of you probably know. Anyway, Woody Guthrie was the pioneer for the folk political musician. Woody Guthrie did it first. Woody Guthrie was the first person to really incorporate politics into his lyricism and really put that out in his songs and put that out on the radio for people to listen to. And it was the first time where a political folk musician was really on top of the market. In combination with Bob Dylan's influences, his songwriting style is also very important to examine if you want to look at what kind of influences he's had on the music industry. He has a very, very versatile musical style. In the beginning, of course, yes, he took his influences from Woody Guthrie, and he wrote songs like The Times They Are Changing. The entire album actually is very Guthrie-esque in the fact that it's very political, and a lot of the lyrics have a lot to do with what Bob Dylan feels about politics and current events and what's going on around him. And throughout his career, he changed his style completely. He has different albums that emanate all different kinds of genres. He has one album called Nashville Skyline, which is a very country album. He has an album called Blood on the Tracks, which is kind of like a heartbreak album. And it just kind of shows the evolution of Bob Dylan as a musician and how he wasn't only influenced by Woody Guthrie, but he was also influenced by the things that were happening around him. In combination with his very unique style, his lyrics have also impressed tons of people and have really set him apart from other musicians of his time. Bob Dylan was the first person to really incorporate politics into his music after Woody Guthrie and make it mainstream. Bob Dylan influenced countless numbers of musicians through that, and Bob Dylan's lyrics have such a wide variety that it almost goes hand in hand with the genres that he covers. Bob Dylan's lyrics can go from the subject matter being something as nonsensical as him rambling on about his dream in Bob Dylan's 115th Dream, just about something that happened to him when he supposedly landed on the shore of the Americas with his ship, and just talked about his journey through his dream that all happened in his head. And then you can look at another song, such as Subterranean Homesick Blues, where Bob Dylan takes charge and commands his generation, and has such a very powerful lyrical segue that he just commands his entire generation to take action. The diversity of his lyrics truly sets him apart as a musician and truly defines Bob Dylan as an influential musician. And many artists have taken example from Bob Dylan's music and his lyricism, and many artists have either covered his songs, taken names from Bob Dylan's songs, taken tidbits, taken different things, different aspects of Bob Dylan's songwriting styles, and they've all incorporated it into their own music. And all these artists use it today. All these artists that look at Bob Dylan and what a revolutionary musician he was, all take different pieces about his music that they appreciate, and they all piece it together and form their own different music. And Bob Dylan had a huge influence on music through every aspect of what he wrote. It is said that Bob Dylan nearly wrote every song in history because he was just such an influential musician and had such a wide variety of songs that he covered such a wide span, and many of the chord progressions that he used are used time and time again, and Bob Dylan was the first person to do that. His lyricism often roused up the American youth. He was very political, he was very strong, and he was a character. Bob Dylan was not someone that you see walking down the street every day that's just some old musician. He was a person that really influenced music as a whole. He influenced everything from composition styles. Everything changed after Bob Dylan came out. The composition styles, the lyricism, and the different respective genres that Bob Dylan covered were all very important in analyzing why Bob Dylan was such an influence on music today. Educating yourself about the kind of impact that Bob Dylan had on music can really enable you to shine a new light on music and understand where the music you were listening to really came from.